It's Claire Paris from Paris Group Realty again in Portland, Oregon. And today on our Dear Claire series, we have a $1 million question, literally, which is, do I have to pay taxes when I sell my home? So for the purpose of this conversation, I just want you to get in some simple ideas so that you can understand just the basic precepts to know whether or not you're going to have a problem. So first thing is, the IRS sees properties as two different things. One is your principal residence, so where I live, where I sleep, that's your principal residence. And then over here is the investment property. An investment property is something that you solely have to ideally make money or use for retirement or something like that. Since we're talking today about your principal residence, that would literally be where I've lived for 2 out of the last 5 years. So there's 3 tests that the IRS asks you to do. It's the ownership test, the use test, and then it gets a little complicated. So ownership is very clear. Have I owned it for 2 out of the last 5 years? Yes or no? If I have, pass. Second question is, have I lived in it for 2 out of the last 5 years? Yes or no? If yes, we're good. Now, the third question you need to know is, and this is a complicated one, is my gain more than $250,000? So we're going to get into a crash course on gain real quick. So if I bought my house for $200,000 and I sold it for $300,000, and I didn't put any money into it as far as fixing it up or doing anything to it, no improvements to the property, I would have $100,000 of gain. And that $100,000, if it were my principal residence, would not be taxable. There is a limit to this, and the limit for me as a single person is $250,000. For a married couple, it's $500,000 combined. So $250,000 for you, $250,000 for your spouse. Let me know if you have any questions about this because it gets very complicated. But the big complications that I see are, like, for instance, if I bought my house by myself and then my husband moved in and I didn't put him on the deed, so technically he does not own the property, but he lives there for a couple years, he doesn't qualify for that exclusion. So oftentimes what I tell people, if you're having big life events like getting married, getting divorced, talk to your real estate professional and your accountant, because you're going to want to know whether or not this is something you need to care about. We're going to address later in the year another question about investment property, which gets very complicated. And then also about 1031 exchanges, which is a way that people with an investment property can use to avoid paying capital gains by buying another property. But that's very complicated, and you can only do that on your investment property. So on the flip side, let's go with a crazy example, because I like to kind of give you what would rule it out. If I bought my principal residence for $200,000 and it was just little old me who lived there and owned it for 2 out of the last 5 years, and then I go to sell it, and let's say I sell it for $700,000. So I have $500,000 of gain. $250,000 of that might be tax excluded. The rest of that is going to be taxable, and it gets very complicated because most people only think about the federal government, and the federal government's capital gains is 15%. However, in Oregon, we also have a capital gains tax. Then there's the city of Portland capital gains tax, the county capital gains tax. And all of that ends up being, I mean, I've seen some clients be looking at a 40% tax bill. So this is a really big deal to keep in mind because you can plan for it if you make a plan as to how you're going to exit your principal residence and when. You don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. It is a good problem to have, though. Anyways, if you have any real estate question or topic that you would like me to address, please send me a message below. I would love to answer any burning questions that you have about real estate. And remember to subscribe to our Paris Group Realty YouTube channel. We have easy access there to all kinds of crazy information that you might be looking for and that we cover in this series. And thank you so much for your questions, and I look forward to talking to you. Take care. Have a great week. Bye.